Welcome. My name is Kristen Mark. I'm a naturopathic doctor and I am working at Urban Wellness Clinic, and we're coming to you with this series of uh, stress themed webinars to help you sort of getting through with all of the stress that life brings and that it seems to be bringing in spades lately. So today we're going to really focus on tips and tools that you can use right away to bust some stress. So let's get right into it. I would also really love participation. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please let me know. You can unmute yourself, you can raise your hand, you can type in the chat. And there's going to be some exercises that we go through together. So your participation is certainly welcomed there as well. Okay. So is this, okay, I just want to make sure all the slides are switching ahead. So if there's any discrepancy between what I'm saying and what you're seeing on the screen, please let me know because I can't see what you're seeing. So we're just going to jump in and I'm going to kind of let you know how I feel about stress and then how we're going to sort of poke holes in it. Initially, we know that stress can be a problem, but we also know that stress is something that's good for us. And so sometimes, having a bit of stress is a good motivator. It helps us to kind of rise to a challenge and feel a sense of satisfaction with a job well done. But the problem seems to be that we have too much stress. We have too much stress too often and for too long. And in order to solve that problem, we'll often see a lot of tips like, how to get your email box to zero and how to just be more organized. And yes, these things can help us increase our efficiency, but they're not really a solution to high stress or a solution to the problem of having just too many demands to meet. And I also don't think trying to live stress-free is realistic or really all that desirable. And so we're going to try and figure out, how do we balance stress? How do we use it to our advantage, but also not allow it to overwhelm us? And the approach that we're going to talk about today is going to be just building space so that we can do this deeper work. So a real solution to stress management, something that can help us live a more balanced life overall and for a longer term, I think does require a bit of deep work in figuring out, what are my core values? What do I value most in life? And what is sort of the purpose of the life I'm living? What am I striving for? And what are the goals that I'm trying to achieve? And having a good grounding there can help us to cull things that are taking away from that aren't serving that purpose and giving us a sense of deeper satisfaction. That said, we're all pretty stressed out right now and maybe don't have time or energy to do that deeper work. And so we want to just figure out how to release some stress right now. So I want to just emphasize that really what that takes is just giving it a try. There are many different ways that we can ease that stress burden. And sometimes we feel overwhelmed and think, there's nothing much we can do. But there's always something that we can do. And there are always ways to reduce that stress a little bit, to give ourselves a little bit of space. And what always will be important is cultivating self-awareness in that, so that we know when we're feeling stressed. Sometimes it's like, okay, of course I know I'm stressed, but we often don't notice the stress when it's first coming on. And we often don't notice it until our body's like screaming at us that we're in pain, we're burnt out. And so cultivating some self-awareness is going to help us to nip things in the bud quicker, to act quicker when we need to make a change. But it's also going to help us to determine which tips and which techniques are actually useful for us. What works well for me may not be what works well for you. And so remembering to check in on ourselves is going to help us to determine what tools we use and when. And even the simple act of checking in can help to improve our stress load. So in order to just start right away, I want to emphasize that you don't have to do everything in a specific order. There's not some kind of huge learning curve. You can just start doing things right away, and checking in with yourself is that good measuring tool to see, okay, is this working? Is this not working? So today we're going to really talk about ways to make a little bit of space, create a bit of breathing room, so that we can maybe start to think about the bigger picture stuff, or maybe we can just get through our day's tasks a little bit more easily with a bit less risk of burnout. Oh, I think you can't see my handy dandy little graphic for some reason here. It was just a clever little picture to illustrate the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic nervous system. So I just want to give a quick summary here because I'm going to refer back to it in what we're talking about in this presentation. That the sympathetic nervous system is considered that fight, flight, or freeze system. So that's what's tuned up and dominant when we're feeling stressed out. So this is the two main branches of our nervous system, and they sort of decide which systems are getting more energy and attention in our body. So when we're in that stressed out state, like when we're running from a bear, it looks the same as when we are just stressed out from life, stressed out because we're living in a pandemic, stressed out because we have work deadlines, et cetera, et cetera. So we're not going to be breathing as deeply. Our heart is going to beat faster, and we're using a lot of energy. So we're burning a lot of fuel, which means we kind of feel like we need to refuel a lot. But the downside is all of the blood is rushing to our muscles to help us run away or fight, and it is rushing away from our gut, which means we're not getting optimal digestion. We're not able to break down the foods we eat and absorb those nutrients in order to refuel and to power all of this energy push that stress response is putting us into. And we tend to have a hormone circulating that trigger anxiety. The parasympathetic system, on the other hand, is known as the rest and digest system. So this is when we are relaxed and calm. Our gut can be active because there's blood flow there, and that helps us to break down food and move it through our digestive system so we can absorb that nutrients and fuel our body systems so that we can rest and be calm and get a really deep and rejuvenating sleep. Our heart is pumping optimally, not super fast, but nice, relaxed, and efficient. Our breath can be deep and slow, and our brain is getting full blood flow. All of our systems are sort of able to take care of themselves. When we're in that fight flight, we can have a single pointed focus for a while that can be really acute, really on point, but it can't last that long because, again, we're burning all this energy and we're not able to refuel. Whereas in the more restful state, we can hold more complex thoughts. We can build memory a little better. So I want to give this overview because I want to tie that into the symptoms that we experience when we're feeling too stressed. And you can see from the lists here, I've broken it down into different categories, but they overlap with what we've just talked about is going on a physiological level. So if we're feeling more agitated or easily frustrated, it's because of those anxiety-inducing hormones. If we're feeling some brain fog and difficulty with focus, because the blood is not going to our brain in an optimal way. We can feel tired because we're burning lots of fuel, but we're not able to absorb the nutrients we need to fix that situation. We're not able to get the deep rest to help fix that situation. So all of these ways that stress can manifest are related to what's happening in our nervous system and the response of our physiology to that signaling issue. And so the reason that we need to build in this space that we're talking about today is so that we can sort of rebalance. So if you have your sympathetic over here and your parasympathetic, if the sympathetic is always dominant, our sympathetic never gets the chance to take over and sort of run that fuel and nourishment back into our bodies so that we can then power the sympathetic when we need it. So maybe you're feeling this way, but how do you change it? So today we're really going to talk about opportunities to build in that breathing room, opportunities to make space. And we're going to do that with several different techniques, but I do want to just emphasize that these are all skills that can be developed. They might feel a bit weird or uncomfortable today, or some of them you may not like, but there's so many to try. And so just a willingness to give it a try is really important, because if one of the techniques doesn't work for you, there's always lots more as a backup. So we really just need to try something. And it doesn't have to be super high level or super intense or time consuming in order to be effective. In fact, it's usually best to start with something simple. So start with the beginner level. If you've never tried any kind of meditation, just start with maybe a few deep breaths. So it really is okay to start small. We will still see benefit. It's just like, exercise. If you don't have a regular workout routine, Taking a walk, a short walk even, is still going to be of huge benefit to you. You don't have to suddenly do a 90-minute intensive workout in order to get some benefit. So even though we don't have access, or we may not have the luxury of going to like a full day spa or weekend retreat right now, you can also do things like taking an alternating hot and cold shower that can bust stress and help to rejuvenate the body a little bit at home. So we're going to start right away with a technique. This is a powerful stress relieving technique. It can help to really release a lot of stress and tension that you're holding right away. It also helps to flip that switch between the fight flight dominance to that calm rest digest dominance. What we're doing is telling the body that we are relaxed, and the body will listen to us, at least for a brief time. So I'm going to demonstrate this for you, and I invite everyone at home to try this yourself. So sitting comfortably, if you're sitting in a chair with both feet flat on the ground, ideally, a fairly upright posture, but not rigid, comfortable and relaxed. We're going to be breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. We're going to allow our abdomen to expand and our rib cage to expand in the front, sides, and back with every inhale. And then you're going to be exhaling forcefully. So as a side note, you can definitely do this at home. You can do this really anywhere, but of course, in the current climate, if you are near other people, make sure that you're masked, or ideally having distance with other folks, because we are exhaling forcefully in this exercise. So if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes and just focus on the breath. We're going to take a deep inhale through the nose, fully expanding the abdomen and chest. And as you exhale through the mouth, you're going to make a noise. So you're going to fully just let everything go. You're going to let your tongue hang out. You're going to relax the whole jaw with your exhale. And as you exhale, you're going to focus on just letting out all the stress and tension that you're holding. Just let out all that stale breath. So let's do that again together. Inhale. And then all out. So you're going to repeat this a couple more times on your own pace. We'll do 3 more. Inhaling in through the nose, feeling that full expansion of the abdomen and ribs, breath all the way down to your pelvic floor, and a full exhale, just a full release of any thoughts, tension, stress that you may be holding on to. Continue at your own pace and just take a couple more. Don't be shy to make a nice sound. Just let it out from as deep in your guts as you can muster. And as you finish up your last breath, just stay with closed eyes for a moment and notice if there's any sensation in your body, any change in the depth or rate of your breath, any change in the content or the pace of your thoughts. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to us over here. And hopefully, if you participated in the exercise, you'll notice that there has been a shift already, that there is some sensation going on in your body that has shifted, a change of pace. Even though I guide the exercise, even doing those few breaths, I can feel the shift myself as well. So I like to start here before I even talk about mindfulness, because I want to draw attention to the fact that mindfulness isn't this big esoteric thing and you have to, do a week-long silence retreat or, subscribe to some kind of ideology in order to practice this. You really don't. You can bring the concept of mindfulness into your day at any point, at any level, no matter who you are. So certainly mindfulness meditations are a thing, and they have incredible benefits in terms of nourishing and relaxing the nervous system, improving digestion, improving mood regulation, improving immune system function, and so many more benefits. That said, even the simple act of doing what we just did at the end of that breathing exercise, tuning in and saying, oh, what am I feeling? What is the experience in my body right now? Is a form of mindfulness. It's that self-reflection and that cultivation of self-awareness that helps us be in that moment, to be where we are right now. And that's very helpful for reducing stress and for calming the nervous system. It's also helpful for getting live feedback for what we're doing. Often we end up pushing ourselves and not noticing that we're harming ourselves in some way or another, stressing ourselves too much until we've already done some damage. So cultivating that self-awareness in the moment can be a great way to relieve stress that's already there, but also prevent a buildup of stress. So it can be just the breathing exercises, for example, counts as a mindfulness exercise because you're focusing on your breath. That reflection that we did at the end of it. It can also be any time of the day when you check in with yourself. Say, oh, how's my posture? What are my shoulders doing? These are all forms of cultivating mindfulness and self-awareness. So we can do that just in our daily life. You may be someone who does exercise already or yoga or something like this. So focusing on your form at that point is also a form of mindfulness and movement meditation. We can do things like, walking meditations. We can do journaling and gratitude journaling or any kind of journaling where you're attending to your thoughts and emotions and putting them out on paper. Poetry I've put on here because that's just another form of expressing what is in our conscious or subconscious and bringing awareness to that, letting it flow. And these are really all ideas that apply to this concept of mindfulness and bringing awareness into the moment. So it's catharsis in terms of poetry or journaling. So letting things out, letting things flow, just like that breath, when we did that nice exhale, that's a cathartic release where we're literally releasing all kinds of waste product because that stale air is used up by our body. Our cells have used the fresh oxygen that we inhaled, done a whole bunch of work with it and made waste product, and we're exhaling that. So we're literally letting out all that waste product, plus all of the stress and tension that we can release when we do that. So catharsis is important, and bringing attention to the moment is also important. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of these concepts in the next few slides. So whatever we're doing, you can always modify it for yourself. So maybe you just want to do one of those breaths, or maybe you want to do those breaths plus you want to, do a guided meditation. So find whatever way appeals to you, whatever way is something that you can actually do. If it feels like, oh, I want to try this because that sounds ideal, but then you keep not doing it, then maybe that's not the right place to start. Start with something that you're just ready to do right now because you need it right now. So if you've never meditated, for example, start with the breath we did. If you really can't sit still because you're sitting too much already, try a moving meditation. Whatever you decide to try, just set a goal and track it. That's a great way to hold ourselves accountable and to make sure that we take action on our intentions. And it works in both ways. So one, it keeps us accountable so that we'll actually do it, but also when we're starting to feel down on ourselves, like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And you look down at your record and say, actually, look at how much I've improved. Look at how many other things I've done. You can feel good about that as well.
Yeah, okay. Just be 1 second to wash your hands.
So I think, Angela, maybe
There you go.
I'm just going to mute you there. Sorry about that. Okay. So there's another technique called shake the tree. And normally I would show this to you, but I realized that my space is a little small and you won't be able to see me. So what I'm going to do is show a really quick video, if I have time. And it has to do with moving the body. And so I do love that. I'm just going to stop sharing this and share another window really quickly. I love this video. It's brief, and I wanted to show you as well because it actually illustrates so quickly how to do this technique. Oh, and that's not working. But also it's a good resource because if you ever want to try Qigong. Okay, well, technical difficulties seem to be plaguing me today, so that's not going to work. But basically, you stand on 2 feet and you just shake out all of your stress and tension. So it's really awesome. It's a subtle movement, but you can release so much stress. It's a physiological response that happens in calming the nervous system and releasing tension in your body when you do that. So I highly recommend it. It doesn't take long. Again, you can do it anywhere, especially if you're not shy. and it doesn't take any equipment. But it really helps, again, even in the middle of your day, seated all day long, you can take the opportunity to just shake it off. So we're going to come back to this window, and hopefully you guys can see the slides again. Are we back? Okay. So you're basically just shaking. It's a bounce, it's a shake. You can kind of like freeform it, shake your head, shake your arms. And it's great to do standing up. Do it outside is even better. But it's one of my favorite really quick stress releasing exercises. And I mentioned you can do it outside. That just combines the benefit of the practice of shaking and releasing all that stress, the nice inhales through the nose and exhale through the mouth. That's very cleansing. Plus, if you're in nature, there's automatically a calming effect of just being around greenery and trees and things like this. Hearing the sound of birds is automatically calming to our nervous system. So it's not even something that we have to take action to do. We just have to be there and notice it. So we can still do this even if you live in the city. City parks count. There are a lot of ravine trails that we can access. Even just enjoying people's front lawns lately with all of the blossoming flowers and blooming trees can be a really lovely break for the nervous system, especially if it's getting us outside with some fresh air and a little bit of movement. But even that can have an effect on our nervous system. So you don't have to be out in the country in order to get that benefit. You can also, cultivate plants at home and have a good green space in a house or an apartment. And you can use water as healing, which we don't have that enough time to talk about today. But basically, nature heals. It's well documented, and I think we just inherently know that. Connection is really important, but it is also overwhelming, overstimulating. It can be stressful, and it's addicting. So it's important to take time to disconnect as well. Take the opportunity to turn off your electronics for a period of time. You can, schedule it out in your week, or just, make sure that you're doing it for at least some period of time, a day or in a week. If nothing else, at least a little bit of time before bed to help with sleep. But I won't belabor this point. I think we all know from this exhaustion that we're experiencing from so much screen time that it is important to disconnect. Movement, again, is really important. My key point here is just that you want to find a level of exercise that works for you. So it's not about what this person or that person is doing. It's what type of movement is going to relieve stress for you and is going to be nourishing for you. So if you're already feeling very fatigued and exhausted all the time, doing an intensive workout is probably not the right place to start right now. However, you can still do some forms of moving meditation like Qigong, like Tai Chi or yoga. And in this case, it also very much depends how you practice, but things like yin yoga or very slow moving poses, so you can focus on your body, your form, and your breath, rather than trying to rush through as a cardio exercise. So that type of mindful movement can be really helpful. So really just anywhere you can start. And it doesn't have to be a workout program. You can just dance. You can just freestyle dance in your living room or wherever to whatever music you like. And, it doesn't have to be a dance class, although those are fun too. Just do it. Get your heart rate up a little bit, sing along. That's another great stress busting exercise. And you can do those things all together. And it brings a bit of levity to the day, as well as a bit of movement and circulation to the body, which is excellent for lowering that stress response. So the second breathing exercise we're going to do is going to be breathing in and out through the nose. And the main focus here is that you're extending your exhale longer than your inhale. Okay, so if you have done yoga or you are familiar with Ujjayi breath, it is an excellent place to use here. It can enhance the benefit. But if you don't know what that is, we're not going to teach it today, but you can just focus on inhale and lengthening that exhale. So again, I invite you to join along. If you're comfortable, close your eyes, sit comfortably, feet flat on the floor. You can do this laying down or seated on the floor as well. And if it's helpful, you can start by counting. So inhale to a count of 4, just pause, and then exhale to a count of 6. And just see what's comfortable to exhale until you fully release all of your breath, and continue on your own pace, inhaling in through the nose, expanding your abdomen, your rib cage, and your back body and front body. Exhaling again through the nose, releasing all of the stale air from all the way in the depths of your torso, all the way from the bottom of your pelvic floor. And just repeat 3 more times, inhaling through your nose, feeling that fresh oxygenated air enter every cell of the body. And exhaling, allowing all of that stale, used up air to release into the world, along with any stress and tension that you may be holding. And as you inhale and exhale, if you notice a slight pause, a natural pause at the end of your inhale and at the end of your exhale, just be with it for a moment. No need to force anything, just following the rhythm of your breath. Noticing how you're able to extend your exhale a little bit longer each time. And exhale. And as you finish, one last breath, breathing in all that fresh oxygen to all of your organs and tissues. Exhaling all of that stress and tension and waste product, and leaving room for the next breath of fresh oxygen. Just come back in to notice your body. Is there any change? Is there any sensation anywhere in the body that you're noticing? Change in the depth or pace of your breath? A change in the pace or content of your thoughts? Now, this is an exercise as you come back to us here, and open your eyes whenever you're ready, that you can use anywhere. And it's much more subtle than the first one. So oftentimes people won't notice you doing it, especially if you're not randomly closing your eyes wherever you're standing. So you can take it with you anywhere. It's free. It requires no equipment. It really doesn't require much time out of your day. If you can't afford 1 minute to just breathe in your day, then I think there might be a bigger issue, and you should probably, give me a call. But this can really help to flip that switch from that sympathetic stress overdrive and flip us into that rest and digest. And when we're very, very stressed, that effect may not last a long time because we're suddenly getting overwhelmed. But what we're talking about today is how do we just make these little spaces? Just create a little bit of space so that we can get through the things that we need to get through each day. So that eventually, as we harness the benefits of these techniques, as we get used to bringing them into our life each day, we suddenly notice that we're having more and more space to breathe and to relax the nervous system. And that allows us to actually be much more effective at dealing with the stress that continues to come our way. The less we are able to have that downtime, that flip that switch and allow our parasympathetic, our rest digest to take over for a bit, the less we're actually able to continue dealing with all the stresses. So the last point that I want to make is having fun. That's the best stress buster. So, dancing to your favorite songs, singing, doing fun, silly things that you like, that make you happy, that make you feel joyful. It might be hobbies or crafts. It might just be, joking around with friends, be it at a distance or virtually or what have you, or watching, a comedy. Anything that's going to bring some joy into your life, some levity, is really nourishing. We all know this, but I need to put it here because sometimes we need to be reminded. Things can feel very serious and very dire, and the demands placed on us feel really important and like we really need to meet them. But if you're getting no joy in your life, I don't know, what is it all worth? If we can't bring a little bit of levity, a little bit of, laughter, then I think we really have some deep digging to do. So look for things that are fun. It's great. It's just great. And it's one of the easiest, most accessible stress busting tools for a lot of us. We often forget. And sometimes it's really hard to find things that feel fun lately. And again, if that's the case, please reach out for support, not just to myself or another naturopathic doctor or another care practitioner, friends, family, support groups, online communities. We need to be there for each other because we just can't do it alone. We're not built to. And that's okay. We just have to actually, engage with the supports that are available to us. And so if you need any help with that, or if you need some direction on resources, feel free to reach out so that we can offer some support there. So I've taken us a little bit over a half hour today, but we're coming right up to the end. So I just want to summarize. We really focused on what we can do to enrich our lives and cut out stresses, bring that stress level down and bring a better balance, create that breathing room. There are certainly things that we can cut out and adjust, but I wanted to emphasize today, what are these little things that we can bring in without having to make a huge adjustment to the things that we're already doing in life? Because sometimes it's just overwhelming, more stressful and more overwhelming to think about how to make those big changes. So when we can build this buffer, this little bit of breathing room, this cushion, it can allow us a little bit more room to maneuver to say, okay, what else can I shift that's going to give me even more space, that's going to give me even more relief on a longer term basis, so that I can feel like the stresses I have are okay and I can manage them. They may be challenging, but I can get through without feeling like I'm going to lose my health. I'm going to lose my, social life, or I'm going to lose my capacity to just function. We don't want stresses to get that intense. And now all that's left to do is for you to make it happen. So I want to know what you're going to do today to bring ease into your life. What did we talk about that you're going to actually give a try? What several things, maybe, if you're feeling very keen, are you going to try? So let me know. You can let me know in the chat. You can let me know in the comments on the video if you're watching on Facebook. You can let me know through a DM or an email. Just let me know what you're doing, how it felt. I want to hold you accountable. And I also want to know what worked for you. And if you have other suggestions, please let me know. I'm always happy to expand these lists. What works for me isn't always what works for everyone else. So please do reach out and share. So that brings us up to the end of the presentation today. I do want to just let everyone know that I also offer free 15-minute appointments. So if you're interested in potentially working with me or finding out if you might be interested, you can book an appointment and ask me questions that are of concern to you. I can tell you a little bit more about how I work when we do one-on-one care. If you have a workplace group or a community group that you think could benefit from support with a talk like this, or potentially a little bit of a longer workshop, I also do that. So reach out to me and we can figure out how to offer support to your community. And if you want a little freebie, you can sign up for my newsletter on my website, kristenmarknd.com, and you'll get a PDF to your mailbox about how to get a good night's sleep. So again, good rest is really crucial for that recovery from our constant stress. And so it's looking at ways that we can make adjustments to help you get that deep restorative sleep that you need. So thanks again so much for your time.